Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. So before we get to anything else, we have a bit of an update to the story that I covered in my last video where we spoke about that man who was skiing with a group on a mountain in upstate New York when he suddenly disappeared. Now they did a search for this man for over 6 days until suddenly he reappears nearly 3,000 miles away in Sacramento, California, stumbling around, confused, not sure how he got there, and well, things have just continued to get stranger and stranger. Now, if you haven't watched that video, I'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Go watch it so you can get the full details, but again, it's very simple what happened here. What appeared to be a normal, everyday guy, family man, he was skiing on top of a mountain, disappeared, completely vanished. And when he reappeared in Sacramento, California, on the other side of the country, he was wearing the exact same ski clothes, helmet, and goggles that he was wearing when he was actually skiing. Now, since I posted that video, some new details came to light. And these details came out just as I had uploaded my first video. So a few people started posting in the comments, "Hey Tyler, this case has been solved. There's nothing strange about this. The man wasn't abducted by aliens. He didn't teleport anywhere." Because as it turns out, this man who went missing told authorities that of the little memory he has, what he does remember is that at some point he bumped his head and that he remembered riding in the back of a big rig style truck and that he slept a lot. And that's it. That's all he said. So for those of you who may have said, well, Tyler, this is case closed, this case couldn't be further from being closed. And I'm going to break down why this is so strange. First of all, when deputies found this man, who goes by the name of Konstantinos or Danny Philippidis, they found him at the Sacramento International Airport. Now, when they found him, he had a new iPhone, a new haircut, and very little memory of how he got there. Philippidis told deputies at the airport that he had traversed nearly 3,000 miles from upstate New York to Sacramento, California. He says he remembered very little, but that he recalled skiing and thought that he had suffered a head injury. Now again, he says he'd forgotten how he actually got to Sacramento, other than some vague memory of being in the back of a big rig truck. He doesn't know when he got into the truck. He doesn't know who the man was, where the truck was going. He knows nothing. Now, many of you in the comments on my first video alluded to the fact that the authorities should simply check his phone, because if he had his phone on him, they can track that data along with any movements that he made precisely. And well, just as you would think in a strange story like this, the man did not have his phone. In fact, between his travels from New York to Sacramento, Philippidis bought a brand new iPhone, he told deputies, which he then used to call his wife once he reached California, after having been dropped off supposedly by this big rig style truck, where he then also got a haircut. It's said that Mr. Philippidis had moments of lucidity while he was with the deputies. And may I remind you guys again, he was found alone, disoriented. He had no memory, or barely any memory. He had no ID, no phone, no vehicle, still dressed in his ski pants, ski jacket, boots, and helmet. And let's talk about this so-called big rig truck that supposedly picked him up. Now, how is it possible that he managed to find such a truck, given the location where he went missing, and in such a bad condition, supposedly with a head injury? Now, if you were a truck driver and you find a man in that situation stumbling down the road in ski clothes, then you drive him all the way to California and just drop him off without asking him what had happened or bringing him to the hospital or the police? I mean, this story reeks. I just have to say, this does not smell right. Another thing is that how many missing persons cases have you guys heard of where the Department of Homeland Security gets involved, as was in this very case? That doesn't make sense to me. But let's hear from some of the other people from my first video, some people who commented on what they thought of this story. One user wrote, quote, All they have to do is check his cell phone telemetry. That would show the exact path that he took to get there. If a cell phone moves beyond the laws of physics, i.e. airplane speed, I would bet $1 million it would automatically trigger Homeland Security. But again, he didn't have a phone. He bought a phone on his travel to Sacramento or after he got there. Not to mention the fact, how did he buy the phone in the first place if he had no ID, no money, no wallet, dressed in ski clothes? But I digress. Why indeed would Homeland Security get involved with a simple missing persons case? Another user wrote, quote, "The whole bumped my head and rode in a big rig for 5 days doesn't really make sense. Not saying it is true or not, but wouldn't the truck driver ask questions and then offer to take him to the doctors if the man seemed confused? They said that he seemed in good health, if you recall, but again, the deputies also said that he had suffered a head injury, so which is it? Is he in good health? Or did he suffer a head injury and has no memory of what is going on?" And so maybe this story about the truck and everything else is just the story that they want people to believe because they might not know exactly what happened to him. Strange indeed. And finally, we have another commenter who wrote, quote, "Dumbest cover-up I've ever heard. Story doesn't add up. Doctor said he was in good health. He told the deputy he got hit in the head and had trauma. The whole story is full of lies. I just can't stop my eyes from rolling." And I gotta say, guys, by and large, I would have to agree with these commenters here. It just doesn't make sense. And when you have the Department of Homeland Security getting involved, that makes me wonder whether something supernatural or just something that we don't know about and they're not going to tell us happened here. And that some of this information we're getting is either partial truth or no truth at all. So, yeah, that is the update. The strangeness continues, the case is not closed, and it would seem most, if not all of you guys agree, because I think you're all smart people, you can see the strangeness going on here. And so, we'll just see what happens. So, now in other news, a strange blue light emanating through the clouds, not up from the ground, but actually through the clouds horizontally, was spotted in the skies over Tennessee.
I just went back and looked at it, by the way. 2 good weeks now. What do you hate more, cancer or Matthew Berry? I beat cancer. I'm getting close to beating Berry. What do you hate more? I'm gonna go Berry. You hate Berry? Today, one of my parents got sick or something like that, then I would probably go.
Now, the source of the footage stated that he was picking up some food at a local restaurant when he noticed, out of the corner of his eye, this blue hue, and he looked up, thinking that maybe, well, he didn't know what it was, to be honest. And as you're seeing here, this is not, your typical spotlight shining up towards the clouds from Earth. Usually in those instances, you'll have a single spot, usually a circular spot in the clouds, and you won't actually be able to see the beam of light coming from the ground. We're not seeing this here. This light is obviously stretched horizontally through the clouds until it disappears over the horizon or just into the distance where the camera can't pick it up anymore, but you can see as he's panning from one side of the sky to the other, this thing is emanating from the clouds. It's not coming from below. And according to him, this is a small country town on the outskirts of Knoxville, and there's just nothing in there that would create this light. He said that other patrons of the restaurant were coming out and watching it, so I have no doubt we'll see other videos or images of this coming out. And yeah, it's extremely mysterious. It's reminiscent of some of the other strange beams of light that we've been seeing around the world, out of Michigan recently, where we had that strange, what they called a meteor entering the atmosphere. Afterwards, these really strange, sort of evil-looking red beams of light seen coming up and down from the sky, although those were vertical, but it's certainly a phenomenon that we've seen before, and I can't explain this. So, big thanks to the viewer out of Tennessee for sending this in. If you guys, are in the area, or, you'll know if it's there. You won't be able to miss it. But if you do catch it, be sure to send in video. So, lastly today, we have a revelation regarding the recent SpaceX launch of this Tesla Roadster, this car that Elon Musk launched into space recently, sending it into a billion-year journey out into the cosmos. And what you guys probably didn't know was that SpaceX actually hid a second and more secretive payload aboard the Falcon rocket. And what we now know is that inside of the Roadster was a strange and small object, no bigger than a coin, that has been designed to last for potentially billions of years. And it's a storage device that was made specifically for holding long-term data and archiving it. It's said that this little object can hold libraries of information that are encoded on the quartz crystal disk. The Ark Mission Foundation is behind the disk, and they said that it was able to preserve and disseminate the knowledge of humanity over space and time so that future generations could benefit. And as you're seeing here, the disc looks just like a teeny Blu-ray or DVD disc. However, the technology goes far beyond the optical discs that are used at home. So this teeny little thing here can hold 360 terabytes of data, or the equivalent of about 7,000 Blu-ray discs. And what is even more impressive is the longevity of these things, that are said to be the longest-lasting storage solutions ever created, with the ability to last in space for up to 14 billion years. And that will basically contain all knowledge of Earth and space, and that it should be thought of as a ring of knowledge as it moves around the sun. So yeah, this is pretty awesome, and it's reminiscent of some of the other and more primitive storage objects that we have sent out into space, such as the Voyager Golden Record, which was attached to the Voyager probe. It was this massive, large golden disc featuring what amounted to a basic pictorial message, showing our location in the solar system, our DNA, what we look like, and so forth. So this is a major upgrade to that, and good on Elon Musk for doing something that has never been done before, and for creating rockets that now have the ability to land back on Earth, saving us potentially billions of dollars and advancing our future missions into space. So, exciting time to be alive, guys. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for stopping by. If you have your own strange story or piece of UFO footage, be sure to send me an email down below. Stay safe, subscribe, and I'll see you back in just a bit.